You think your wife can hear you?
No.
Then why bother?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Even though John Wick Chapter 4 seemed like it could be the end, John Wick Chapter 5 is confirmed to be in the works. The news came right after the fourth movie dropped, with Lionsgate's Joe Drake mentioning they'd start brainstorming ideas for the next chapter. He also hinted that the ending of Chapter 4 could be open to interpretation, so it's not necessarily the final word. But since the announcement, there hasn't been much progress on John Wick 5. Director Chad Stahelski has recently cleared up some rumors, saying he's not currently working on the fifth film, which suggests the project is probably on hold for now. It's unlikely the studio would take the film away from Stahelski, so for now, John Wick 5 is stuck in limbo. The future of John Wick 5 has been a bit of a roller coaster, and the latest update comes from director Chad Stahelski. In an interview with Business Insider for the 10th anniversary of John Wick, Stahelski put many rumors to rest, saying, "If we felt we weren't ripping the fans off and had more to give, I'd do it tomorrow. I just don't have that right now." This means the fifth movie isn't currently in the works, and any buzz about it is just speculation. While it's a bit disappointing, it does show that Stahelski is open to returning if the right idea comes along. Stahelski went on to say, "When you fall in love, you fall in love. I'm in love with John Wick. I'm in love with the process and the story. Keanu and I are both like, if we wake up tomorrow and there's a good idea, we're doing it. You can bet your ass." If John Wick 5 happens, Keanu Reeves would definitely need to come back as the title character. Wick has become one of his most iconic roles, and it's hard to imagine the franchise without him. Reeves talked about the possibility of John Wick 5, saying, "The only reason we'd have a chance to make these movies is that people have liked what we've done, so I think we have to wait and see how the audience responds to it." The response has been super positive, but it still raises the question of whether the ending of Chapter 4 felt like a proper conclusion. If Reeves does decide to return for John Wick 5, there are some familiar faces who could join him. At the end of Chapter 4, Winston and Bowler King visit John's grave, hinting that one or both of them might have helped fake his death. Plus, John made some new friends in the last movie, like Donnie Yen's Kane and Shamir Anderson's Tracker, who could easily come back. And since Keanu Reeves will appear in the Ballerina spin-off, it's possible Ana de Armas could also show up in John Wick 5. That said, knowing when to end a franchise is key to preserving its legacy, and that's something John Wick will need to consider carefully. So far, no details have been revealed about John Wick Chapter 5, and it's tough to imagine how they could bring Jon back after such a perfect, meaningful death. The franchise has been on an incredible run, with each movie building on the last and giving fans exactly what they want while expanding the story in exciting ways. But like with other franchises, knowing when to walk away is crucial for keeping the series respected. John's death in Chapter 4 felt like the perfect conclusion, especially with him completing his impossible mission. Bringing him back in Chapter 5 could risk making his death feel cheap, and it's hard to see how they could top such an impactful ending. That said, the John Wick series has always surprised us, going from a humble action movie to one of the best action franchises ever. So who knows? Maybe they'll find a way to shake things up and bring Jon back in a way we never saw coming. Despite the seemingly definitive ending of John Wick Chapter 4, there's a wild theory floating around that could explain how John Wick might return in Chapter 5. While the movie ends with John succumbing to his injuries after taking down the Marquis de Gramont, leaving Winston and the Bowery King to discuss his death over his gravestone, the movie's conclusion was left open for interpretation by director Chad Stahelski. Lionsgate later confirmed John Wick 5 is in development, and many fans have been wondering how they could bring Jon back after such a perfect ending. One theory, which has gained traction on the fan theory, suggests that John Wick 5 could take place in hell. The original movie when he tells John, "I'll see you in hell." The theory suggests this wasn't just a threat, but a promise. It imagines that John could return from death to literally fight through hell, facing off with every enemy he's ever killed, including Santino D'Antonio, Ares, and even Yosef Tarasov. The theory also ties in with the religious symbolism scattered throughout the John Wick films, like John's tattoos and the lyrics from the song Eye for an Eye in Chapter 4, which include "I'll see you in hell on the other side." If this theory were true, Jon's final battle could be against Vigo, the antagonist who started it all in the first movie, and the film would end with Jon being saved by his wife Helen and his dog Daisy, finally finding peace in heaven. While it's sad that Vigo's actor Michael Nyqvist passed away in 2017, which would prevent him from returning, the rest of the theory remains an intriguing possibility. It offers a way to continue the franchise while staying true to the core of the John Wick story, with Jon fighting through hell for redemption. Setting John Wick 5 in hell wouldn't require any of the extreme depictions of hell we've seen in other media like Doom or Has Been Hotel. Instead, the film could keep the grounded, gritty tone of the earlier John Wick movies, setting the action in a city that's actually hell in disguise. This could give the film a unique setting, while preserving the franchise's signature atmosphere. While it's certainly a bizarre theory, the idea of Jon battling through hell could be a fitting, and surprisingly fitting, way to continue his story without cheapening his original death. It would offer one last epic chapter for the franchise's lead character. The idea of Jon being in hell actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how tricky it would be to bring him back for John Wick 5 without undoing the perfect conclusion of Chapter 4. That movie wrapped up his story in a way that allowed him to finally find peace. The only way for that peace to be shattered without feeling cheap would be if the next movie took place in the afterlife, forcing Jon to face his past before he could reunite with his wife. It'd be a huge shift for the franchise, but it might be one of the few ways to bring him back without diminishing the weight of his death in the fourth film. Although resurrecting Jon for a fifth installment is a tough task, without overshadowing his final moments in Chapter 4, the idea of him being in hell could provide a fitting and even unique way to wrap up his story. The potential return of familiar faces, whether allies or enemies, could add depth to this new chapter. While this approach might stretch believability, it could also reinforce the idea that Jon's fight for a peaceful ending was worth it, making his eventual peace even more meaningful. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.